We have a good one for you today, ladies and gentlemen, as new poll has emerged, which in turn gives Starmer the worst possible start to his Thursday. In today's video, we will discuss it whilst also going over all of the latest news from up and down the country. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and join our fast-growing community. Voters now feel more positively about Reform UK than they do the Labour Party, according to a new poll. A poll, conducted by JL Partners on October 11th to 13th, found that 28% of voters had a very or quite positive view of Nigel Farage's party, while 27% felt the same way about Labour. Voters also felt more positively about Reform UK than the Conservatives, with only 23% holding a positive opinion about the former party in power. Voters also feel more negative about Starmer's party than Reform UK, with 41% holding a very or quite negative opinion of Farage's party, while 47% feel very or quite negatively about Labour. The leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, also had a more popular rating than the current Prime Minister, holding a 27% favourable rating compared to Starmer's 24%. Voters are also more negative towards Starmer than Farage, with half of voters, 50%, holding a negative opinion of the Prime Minister, while only 27% felt the same about Farage. Farage has a very strong support base from Reform UK voters, with 85% of Reform voters feeling quite or very positive about the leader, while only 1% feel only quite negative. Across the rest of the political spectrum, Farage's popularity is not as strong, with no more than 30% of voters in any other political group having a positive opinion of him. Meanwhile, Labour voters are not as supportive of Starmer, with only 52% holding a positive opinion of him. Reform UK voters most strongly oppose the Prime Minister, with 82% holding a negative view of Starmer, which is higher than in any other political group. Nevertheless, the Labour Party are still polling ahead of other parties, sitting at 29%, while the Conservatives are on 25% and Reform UK on 19%. Labour has also seen a drop in its support from older age groups amid its winter fuel allowance raid. The party is now winning just over 1 in 10 voters aged over 65 or over having previously won more than a quarter of this age group. The Labour Party has had a turbulent start in government amid a series of political controversies and unpopular policies. Another poll by YouGov, released on Friday, found half of Labour voters are disappointed by Starmer's government. Additionally, 4 in 10 Britons feel the country is in a worse state than before the election. In other news, Rachel Reeves, Chancellor of the Exchequer, has received a letter from Republic, an anti-monarchy not-for-profit company, demanding that she cut the royal budget instead of public services in her upcoming budget. The letter outlines the organisation's concerns about public service and welfare cuts, while they believe the cost of the monarchy will continue to rise. The anti-monarchy group also believes that MPs have a woeful lack of understanding of royal funding. Republic CEO Graham Smith said, "It is difficult to have a serious debate about the out-of-control costs of the royals when MPs are so poorly informed. Republic recently published a report claiming the monarchy costs the country more than £500 million annually. The group urged the Chancellor to consider scrapping the sovereign grant used by the royal family to pay for expenses related to their official duties." Members of the royal family carried out 2,700 engagements across the UK and abroad during the year. The organisation says that the Crown Estate does not fund any of the monarchy's costs. However, the sovereign grant is funded from a percentage of the Crown Estate's revenue profits, initially set at 15%, and is reviewed by the government every 5 years. Smith said, "How can £500 million for Britain's head of state be justified? If the government is considering cuts to vital public services, there is no justification for the royals being handed £500 million per year. If painful decisions are required, as you have said, shouldn't those cuts start at the top?" He also asked the Chancellor to establish an annual salary for members of the royal family. The letter, addressed to Downing Street and signed by Republic CEO Graham Smith, was posted by the organisation on X at 8 o'clock this morning. Smith wrote that an inquiry should be launched to review the status of the Duchies of Lancaster, a private estate of land owned by King Charles, and the Duchy of Cornwall, a private estate provided to earn an income for the Prince of Wales and his family. Prince William voluntarily pays income tax on all revenue £21 million a year earned from the estate. Rachel Reeves, Chancellor of the Exchequer, will deliver Labour's first budget in 14 years on October 30th. Lastly, the use of hundreds of hotels right across the country to house many thousands of asylum seekers is one of the most contentious elements of the small boats crisis. Labour promised during the election campaign that they would end the Conservative government's policy of migrant hotels. Sir Keir Starmer and his now Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, spoke regularly of the wasteful use of hotels, which has cost the nation as much as £8 million a day. But the revelation the new government is actively negotiating with hotel chains once again to secure more bed space for asylum seekers is proof, if any were needed, that there are no quick fixes to the small boats crisis. A summer surge in arrivals across the Channel has passed a grim milestone, with more migrants having made the illegal journey in the 3.5 months since Labour came to power than under the previous 6 months under the Conservatives. Robust rhetoric around ending asylum hotels is one thing, but when more than 13,700 migrants cross from France in just a few short months, they have to be housed somewhere. Yvette Cooper has bet the house on a much faster asylum processing system to reduce the backlog and help bring down the reliance on hotel accommodation. But human rights groups and the lefty lawyers, as they were dubbed under the Tories, have become experts at ensuring the majority of asylum seekers eventually get leave to remain in the UK, even if that means a lengthy appeals process. The other main plank of the current government's small boat strategy is smashing the gangs, beefing up law enforcement efforts at home and abroad to go after the people smugglers. But any efforts to dismantle highly organised criminal networks won't be achieved quickly, if ever. And so for now, Labour, just like the Conservatives before them, are faced with working out how best to deal with the continuing flow of small boat migrants into the UK. The previous government made some inroads into reducing their reliance on hotel accommodation. From a high of 56,000 hotel beds in 2023, the Conservatives freed up 20,000 beds and returned around 150 hotels back to community use. But Labour is learning the hard way that headline-grabbing promises to end hotel use and to scrap the migrant accommodation centres at former RAF bases and on the Bibi Stockholm barge can come back to bite them. The plan to send small boat asylum seekers to Rwanda was a costly and controversial policy of the previous government, but one they were convinced would prove to be a major deterrent to those planning to cross the Channel illegally. We'll never know how effective that plan could have been, as it was scrapped by Sir Keir Starmer on his first day in office. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.